County did a 3-day investigation on this, started their investigation with the fact that he was under indictment and therefore probably on the lam and ran. And then the body was found 150 yards from the place where they had their command center for their investigation. All of it adds up to another problem down in the Jasper area, just like James Byrd almost 20 years ago when he was drugged to death.
Authorities are expected to continue their search tomorrow for a missing Jasper man, according to the man's family. Family and friends joined law enforcement officers today to search for Alfred WRIGHT. He went missing on Thursday in a remote area in Sabine County. The 28-year-old lives in Jasper and is married with 2 children. A family friend says authorities have found the clothes he was wearing when he went missing, as well as his driver's license, a credit card, his watch, and keys. Wright was last seen at CL&M store in Hemp Hill when his truck broke down and he left walking. He is a home health physical therapist and was reportedly on his way to see a patient when his truck broke down. Authorities have been searching for him off Highway 87 on Cousins Road, which is in Sabine County. This picture is from our media partner, KJAS. If you've seen Wright or know anything about this case, you can contact your local authorities.
A Jasper man is still missing after a search for the father of 3 was suspended for lack of new evidence. The missing person case is still active for Alfred WRIGHT, but after an aerial and ground search, authorities say there is nothing more they can do for the time being. The Sabine County Sheriff's Office will continue to monitor the situation. Wright has been missing since last Thursday when his car was found in Hemp Hill with no sign of him. Searchers have covered areas in Sabine County and are working with the Louisiana border.
The search for a 28-year-old Jasper man who disappeared Thursday night after work in Hemp Hill has been called off. A day after authorities found scrubs, a watch, a wallet, and a belt abandoned in a pasture off of Highway 87. East Texas News 9's Michelle Reed joins us now with more information on this bizarre case. Michelle?
That's right, Christelle. I just spoke to Sabine County Sheriff Tom Maddox, and he said the organized ground search for Alfred WRIGHT has been called off because they have exhausted all their resources. Maddox made it very clear that there is no evidence of foul play, and it's simply a missing person case. But family and friends say they know Alfred, and he would never leave his family.
It's bizarre. My son would never come down that dark road by himself, walking or running.
The ground search for 28-year-old Alfred WRIGHT might be called off, but questions about his whereabouts are still ongoing.
Why would he be jumping over a fence? Maybe somebody was chasing him. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know.
Sheriff Maddox says Alfred went missing Thursday after his car overheated and broke down at a grocery store on Highway 87. Store clerk JR said she was outside smoking a cigarette when she noticed Alfred get out of his car.
When I saw him, he took off on the paved road that way, back toward town.
But the strange thing is, some of Alfred's belongings, including a tattered piece of his scrubs found on a barbed wire fence, were located by authorities in a pasture outside of town, which is the opposite direction he was traveling.
They went down a few more feet. They found his pants, keys, and he had a little silver metal deal that he kept his ID and his credit cards in.
and the family says all the details just don't add up. Despite the search being called off, the family says their fight to find Alfred will not stop until he is home safe and sound with his wife and 2 sons. Do you think he's alive?
I really feel he is alive. That's my feeling. I just feel he's not dead. I do, you know, and I just hope that I'm right.
The family told me they are devastated by the sheriff's news, but they will have a meeting tomorrow for those still wanting to look for Alfred. I'll have those details on our website.
Search for a missing Jasper man. Family, friends, and officials searched relentlessly for the father of 3 through a thick wooded area in Sabine County. The home health physical therapist went missing Thursday. KFDM's Haley Bull was in Hemp Hill as his family searched and prayed for his safe return.
He's just a great kid, and I miss him, and I just want him found.
A son?
The one that always wanted to go hunting with me when he was 2 years old. I had to tote him on my shoulder.
A father?
He's a very genuine person, kind-hearted. He cared a lot about his family, crazy about his boys.
And a family.
Having trusted in God that through it all, he'll be coming back to us safe.
Praying for Alfred Wright's safe return. Rosalind and Douglas Wright Sr. say their son went missing Thursday evening when his truck broke down. He called his wife Lauren to let her know.
Of course, she was at home with her 2 young boys, and so she called us and asked us to come check on him.
They found his truck at the CL&M store off Highway 87. Wright's sister-in-law, Allison Bush, says the last time anyone saw the father of 3,
he was seen running from that vehicle towards town.
And we came, and when we made it, we couldn't find him, so we started inquiring.
That's when Wright's parents notified the sheriff's office. During the past 4 days, law enforcement officials, volunteers, friends, and family searched for Wright.
We found a credit card holder where he crossed over a fence, and when he did, he dropped his credit card holder also.
Sabine County Sheriff Tom Maddox said they're searching by ground and air a 1.5-mile radius in the woods and a pond near Highway 87.
We have trailed him and found his trail all the way down to this particular spot.
And still, no Alfred Wright. His wife said in part, "We appreciate everyone who has stepped in to help out in the search for my husband. As the search continues, please keep us in your thoughts and prayers. Alfred, if you are watching or reading this, please know we love you and we want you home."
The search is over, and the rumors can now be put to rest after the body of Alfred Wright was found only feet away from where he was last seen.
After the body of Alfred Wright was found only feet away from where he was last seen. Only feet away from where he was last seen.
After 3 weeks of search efforts by foot and air, the body of 28-year-old Jasper man who went missing in Hemp Hill earlier this month has been found. Despite the ground search being called off, Alfred Wright's body was found about 50 yards away from his actual disappearance site. Our East Texas News 9's Michelle Reed has been covering the story from the very beginning and went out to the dark and rainy recovery site tonight to find out more on this evolving mystery.
The search for Alfred Wright has come to a somber end.
They're being family, they're tore up by it, you know, so they're in deep sorrow.
Private investigator Chuck Foreman says the Wright family hired him last week to help them continue the ground search efforts to find Alfred. And that's when they stumbled upon his body 50 yards in the woods, right near Customs Road in Hemp Hill, where Alfred was last seen.
The actual last known was right here at this private property where they hollered at him. So this was the last known. This is where the grid search needed to be 100%, and that's what we were doing, completing 100% grid search.
However, Sabine County Sheriff Tom Maddox did confirm that a body was found today, but he said he could not identify it as Alfred.
Well, Michelle, what we have is that we have found a body. You know, we have not identified who it is, and the investigation there still continues.
Yet new details about the day Alfred disappeared has emerged. Earlier today, Foreman told me over the phone that an investigation showed Wright may have been using a substance known as bath salts for an energy boost. Federal documents obtained by KTRE also revealed that Wright's wife Lauren told the sheriff's department that Alfred might have been using an unknown substance that caused him to be paranoid. However, authorities would not comment on whether or not this had anything to do with Alfred's disappearance and death.
Well, that sadness, there that's been brought to an end, in the conclusion of as this, but we still do not have an identity of who it is, and so until we do, our investigation still continues.
In Sabine County, Michelle Reed, KTRE, East Texas News 9.
Right now, we're told that the Texas Rangers have taken over the investigation. We reached out to the family for a comment, but they were, of course, devastated.
Witnesses in the store said that after the phone call, Wrights ran towards the woods. The Sabine County Sheriff's Office conducted a search, but called it off after 4 days, saying they had exhausted their resources. Wright's body was found 18 days later in Hemp Hill by his father and volunteers. He was wearing only his underwear, a sock with his cell phone tucked in it, and sneakers. His throat was slit, and he was missing an ear and 2 front teeth. The county autopsy report ruled that Wright's death was accidental and caused by combined drug intoxication. A forensic pathologist hired by Wright's family said her preliminary review found evidence of homicidal violence. The Department of Justice has announced that it will open an investigation into the case. Wright's family believes he may have been the victim of a racially motivated crime. Wright was from Jasper, the same town where, 15 years ago, another black man was savagely murdered by white supremacists.
A justice of the peace has released an autopsy report showing the death of a man who became the focus of a massive search was accidental. According to the autopsy released today, Alfred Wright's death was accidental. The autopsy indicates his death was due to drug intoxication from cocaine, amphetamine, and methamphetamine. The 28-year-old was reported missing November 7th of last year. The sheriff's office and other agencies began searching for Wright in and around Hemp Hill. They used four-wheelers and other equipment and spent days looking, but ended the search after several days. Family and friends continued looking, and his body was found November 25th along Highway 87 near Hemp Hill. The family had a law firm that represents them. They still have questions about the autopsy and the investigation.
The Texas Rangers have made it clear to myself that they do not intend to investigate law enforcement, local law enforcement, in their handling of this. Someone needs to do so because there are too many questions, there are too many holes. The whole deal is bizarre, and we would ask that the FBI would step in and would give a full investigation to this family.
The Bernson law firm represents the Wright family. A private autopsy is ordered, but did not show a cause of death. The family has ordered a toxicology report of its own.
It will be a sad Thanksgiving day for the family of Alfred Wright. The Jasper husband and father of 3 was found dead Monday after being missing for almost 3 weeks.
First, the family had questions on his whereabouts. Now they question what led to his death. 12 News HD anchor Angel San Juan joins us in studio with the latest.
This afternoon, I did a Google search of Alfred Wright's name. More than 24 articles appeared, not just from local media outlets. Texas Monthly and the Huffington Post have also reported on the disappearance and death of the 28-year-old physical therapist. His tragic story has definitely captured people's attention and generated many theories of what could have happened to him. Attorneys with the Bernson law firm, who are representing Wright's family, are cautioning the public not to jump to conclusions. They tell us we won't really know anything new until autopsy results are released. The autopsy on Wright's body is being conducted by the Jefferson County Medical Examiner. Results will first be released to Sabine County Justice of the Peace, James Brasher. It was in Sabine County where Wright was last seen alive at a package store in Hemp Hill. That was on November 7th. Wright's family became upset when Sabine County Sheriff's deputies called off their ground search only 48 hours after Wright was reported missing. It was a family search party that eventually located Wright's body in Sabine County, east of Highway 87 off Cousins Road. Family's attorneys say the body was very close to where belongings had been found during the initial search. As a result, Wright's family has lost trust in local investigators, and the Texas Rangers are now leading the investigation. I spoke to Justice of the Peace James Brasher this afternoon. He says he doesn't expect to have preliminary autopsy results until Monday. Wright family attorney Ron McLeod told us the law firm has its own expert who will review the autopsy report and make a determination on whether a second autopsy will be conducted. Live in studio, Angel San Juan, 12 News HD.
Lots of interest in that autopsy report. Angel, thanks very much. Jasper City Councilman Alton Scott told us tonight funeral arrangements for Alfred Wright are still pending.
Family, friends, and supporters coming together for Alfred Wright.
Unless we keep doing something, if our heart stop beating, then that means we're no longer alive. This is the way that Alfred's heart keep beating.
Saturday, with a peace rally and concert at Faith Temple Church of God in Christ in Jasper.
We're willing to do whatever we have to do by any means necessary to keep this case alive.
Wright's sister is an organizer of the rally.
I believe that someone killed my brother. I believe they captured him, they held him captive, they tortured him, and then they just left his body out there.
They captured him, they held him captive, they tortured him, and then they just left his body out there.
Some of y'all are innocent, but you don't know no better because you want to provide. They guilty by the law parties because they conspire along with the criminal activity. Conspirators. Create your own job. Tell us first. Damn cowards. Where's Danny Young? Where's Danny Young? Where is Danny Young? Y'all so weak standing in for Danny Young. How much blood has been shed to make this country? And I'll be so words in the record book. Put it on YouTube. Same rednecks. Same house niggas. Ain't nothing new. Y'all look weak. Y'all look real weak standing up on these criminals.
They continue to question the results of the official autopsy. The Sabine County Sheriff says it found the 28-year-old died from an accidental drug overdose. But a second autopsy, Wright's family members say, shows evidence of foul play.
Ear missing, his throat being slashed, his 2 front teeth, and then an additional tooth on the bottom, and his eyes being taken out. They said that was also due to animal activity as well.
His 2 front teeth and then an additional tooth on the bottom, and his eyes being taken out. They said that was also due to animal activity as well.
Oh, I never bought it.
The Sabine County Sheriff is not commenting on the case since it is an ongoing investigation. Well, given the history of racial violence in Jasper, is the Justice Department investigation warranted in this case? That's what we're talking about this half hour.
Well, you have the Sheriff's Department there in Sabine County did a 3-day investigation on this, started their investigation with the fact that he was under indictment and therefore probably on the lam and ran. And then the body was found 150 yards from the place where they had their command center for their investigation. All of it adds up to another problem down in the Jasper area, just like James Byrd almost 20 years ago when he was drugged to death. It's an ongoing problem. I think Jackie Valley, Sheila Jackson Lee was right to ask the Justice Department to step in and take a look at this.
Well, I think the sheriff's not helping his own situation because he has made questionable statements. The fact that they're saying that he's rude to the family, he's not disclosing a lot of information, and the fact that after 4 days he decides, okay, this young man is on the lam and we're going to shut down the case. Those are a lot of things that add up, and a lot of people are questioning the motivation. And the fact that it's an area that has had many problems, many issues of racial tension. So, you know, even if the sheriff's department and the sheriff has done everything by the book, when you look at all of those other factors, there are way too many questions for people to feel comfortable with whatever statements or whatever decisions that are coming out of his office.
You know, Mustafa, to me, they find the body 150 yards from the command center. It's got one sock on. His pants are gone. His throat is slit. His teeth are missing. His eyes are gone, and he has an ear gone. Now, I could buy the argument that maybe an animal ate his ear off, but an animal didn't pull his teeth out. An animal didn't slit his throat.
None of the facts and the narrative that the sheriff's department put out was accurate, and it was completely contradictory to the facts. There is something very nefarious about what's going on there. I feel for the family, because imagine if one of our loved ones was missing, and instead of the people that we trust to find that person and bring, you know, people to justice, that they were giving information about something that happened to one of us when we were in college as their leading line of suspicion. The fact that you said earlier, 150 yards from where his body was found, that the sheriff had their command post.
You could have been able to see it, you would think, from standing.
It is unconscionable, and I am surprised that there isn't a much greater outcry of this, and I'm surprised that it's taken the Justice Department this long to get involved.
Well, it's the area, I think. It's that part of the state where we've had these problems in the past.
One of the main injustices is them saying that my brother died of an overdose.
An autopsy ordered by Sabine County found his death was an accidental drug overdose. A pathologist performed a second autopsy at the request of the family. She said she saw, quote, findings that were suspicious of homicidal violence, but couldn't determine a cause of death. More than 100 people filling the church rows heard from family members and panelists. Songs from Wright's brother, Savion Wright, and relatives of James Byrd Jr. A family standing together and vowing to help others.
It goes beyond us finding out who did this to my brother. We don't want this to happen to any other family.
We're going to keep his name alive. We're going to keep his name alive. The world will know Alfred Wright.
Strange and mysterious death of a man named Alfred Wright. We've been covering this all week. He's the Texas father of 3 who vanished last November. His family found his body nearly 3 weeks later. That was 2 weeks after local authorities gave up searching in the exact area where ultimately his body was found by his own family.
Local authorities gave up searching in the exact area where ultimately his body was found by his own family.
The local sheriff told them there was no sign of foul play. The family is alleging a murder and a cover-up. They're disputing nearly everything. The official account, from the cause of death to the condition of his body to the notion that Wright, with no history, they say, of drug use, let alone drug abuse, sprinted off into the Texas scrub forest one day, stripped down to his boxers, and gave himself a lethal dose. There is this, an ordinary everyday item found near Alfred Wright's body that in this case could be some sort of a calling card. Deborah Farrick tonight is keeping him honest.
On the bramble-covered trail not far from Alfred Wright's body, volunteer searchers immediately noticed something out of the ordinary.
And one thing that really stood out when we first found the body, we couldn't explain the dime. Why is there a silver dime laying on top of the ground?
We couldn't explain the dime. Why is there a silver dime laying on top of the ground?
It's unlikely the dime fell out of Alfred's pocket, since he was found wearing only black boxers, his shoes, and a single sock with his cell phone tucked inside. There'd been lots of rain and heavy winds, yet the shiny dime was spotted in plain view on the edge of a trail. That trail is off the cattle field, which Sabine County Sheriff's deputies had supposedly searched looking for Alfred in the days immediately following his disappearance.
I mean, there's the open gate here, almost a straight path, and then his body was right through
right through the gate, the fence here, down one of the only open trails in this woods.
The presence of the dime seemed strange. Strange, that is, to everyone but Brenda Chastain.
When I heard that a dime was found close to his body, that spooked me.
The East Texas woman was in a relationship with Sabine County Sheriff Tom Maddox, the sheriff in charge of the search for Alfred WRIGHT.
The East Texas woman was in a relationship with Sabine County Sheriff Tom Maddox, the sheriff in charge of the search for Alfred WRIGHT.
She says she and the sheriff dated, not exclusively, for about 3 years. She broke it off not long ago, in part, she says, because weird things were happening.
I have found a dime. In different places, like the bathroom sink, pull the covers back, the dime's there. The car where when your car door's shut, it's set in there somewhere. When you open it, it falls out.
I have found a dime. In different places, like the bathroom sink, pull the covers back, the dime's there.
So that morning, you know definitely you had made the bed.
Most definitely, yes.
Okay, and what did you find?
Well, after I'd gotten in my shower and got ready for bed, what I normally do, I'll either throw the pillows in that chair, but what I do is like that number. And then when I pulled this back, there was a dime sitting, laying on the...
Right in the middle of the bed?
Right in the middle of the bed on my side, yeah.
And then when I pulled this back, there was a dime sitting, laying on the... Right in the middle of the bed. Right in the middle of the bed on my side.
Which is interesting, how they know which side I sleep on. How they know I don't sleep on that side. Who knows I sleep on this side? Who knows my habits? And an old logging trail.
Chastain says she has no idea who left the dimes. We found no evidence tying them to the sheriff. In the criminal world, dropping a dime means snitching on someone. And leaving a dime at a scene can be a warning to keep your mouth shut.
And leaving a dime at a scene can be a warning to keep your mouth shut. Can be a warning to keep your mouth shut.
Chastain lives in Rusk County, more than an hour from Sabine. She'd been complaining to her local police and sheriff deputies about suspicious behavior at what she calls a known meth house adjacent to her 63-acre property.
Complain to the sheriff, anybody that would listen.
People in Sabine County and surrounding towns say there are a lot of drugs, a lot of meth in these areas. Alfred WRIGHT's official autopsy found 3 types of drugs in his system: meth, cocaine, and amphetamines. His left ear and his tongue were missing. The 28-year-old physical therapist and married father of 3 was on his way to treat his last patient of the day when his truck broke down at a liquor store. He was on his cell phone with his wife, waiting for his parents to pick him up when he disappeared, bolting into the deep East Texas woods, according to the store clerk, who was one of the last known people to see him alive. Despite finding his clothing on a nearby ranch, the sheriff had called off the search for the college grad after just 4 days, offering a theory but no evidence.
You know what he told us? Oh, he just ran away. He was probably on drugs. And if someone is on meth, this is how they act. They get hot, they get out of their clothes. I'm looking at my husband and I'm saying, okay, why is he coming up with this? No one has said anything about any drugs or anything.
We spoke to someone who knows a lot about the local drug culture, but who was too scared to speak to CNN on camera for fear of reprisals from Sabine County law enforcement.
Spoke to someone who knows a lot about the local drug culture, but who was too scared to speak to CNN on camera for fear of reprisals from Sabine County law enforcement. Fear of reprisals from Sabine County law enforcement.
The person says everyone is talking about Alfred's death, and yet no one in the area remembers ever seeing Alfred buy or use drugs. His family also says they'd never seen him use drugs. A search of his truck may have provided immediate answers. However, the family says Sabine County Sheriff deputies did not search it, claiming it had been contaminated after his wife moved it away from the front of the store, as she'd been asked to do by one of the deputies.
Sheriff deputies did not search it, claiming it had been contaminated after his wife moved it away from the front of the store, as she'd been asked to do by one of the deputies.
With so many unanswered questions, we went back for a second time to try to talk to the Sabine County Sheriff in person. There are so many unanswered questions. We just wanted to circle back around, sir.
Have a great day.
We just wanted to circle back around and give you the courtesy. Okay, thank you very much. As for the presence of the dime not far from Alfred Wright's body and his missing tongue, they may or may not be significant, but they add more questions to the dozens already out there. Did Alfred Wright know something he was not supposed to? Something possibly threatening? Something that ultimately led to his disappearance and death? And was his death a warning to others?
Asking for an investigation. Then we have the other side. Paul says, well, I know the sheriff there and his family quite well and personally, and he says, folks, this is not a cover-up, nor was it racially motivated. It's a sad loss, but Mr. Wright was not murdered.
And I don't know how he knows that unless he's been down there and looking into this himself. But Jackie Bally, you don't have to be a private investigator or a forensic pathologist to say that this appears to be foul play, do you?
Well, you can pull up this area, and there are many incidents like this that have happened. You see a lot of young black men who have been murdered or have been attacked in that area. There are lots of questions. That's why it's known for having racial strife, racial tension. But having his tongue missing and just the mysterious circumstances surrounding this young man's death. I'm a typical person, a typical layman will look at this and say there are several issues that bring concern. And again, you're not even a family member. You're just listening to this. And I do agree with Mustafa when he says it's very sad that a lot of other media outlets have not really looked at this. The only time I've heard about it were through the black media outlets. Those are the only ones who were covering it at one point.
That a lot of other media outlets have not really looked at this. The only time I've heard about it were through the black media outlets. Those are the only ones who were covering it at one point.
A Jasper native is the third person from this area to be featured on American Idol. Savion Wright, a recent Jasper High School graduate, is in competition with about 100 other contestants on American Idol's 13th season. This picture comes to us from our news partner, KJAS Radio. Wright joins the ranks of Cree Harrison, last year's runner-up, and Michael Sarver, who finished in the top 10 a few years ago. Wright is currently a student at Baylor University, where he studies medical humanities. His family has been in the news recently, as Wright is the brother of Alfred Wright, a Jasper man found dead in Sabine County. You can see Savion Wright right here on Fox 4 on the season premiere of American Idol tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
For you, East Texas, I'm Christelle Phillips. We're glad you're with us tonight. At 6, we first heard from Alfred Wright's widow, Lauren, who says life without Alfred has been difficult. As you know, Alfred Wright is the 28-year-old Jasper man who was found dead in November after family members searched for him in a wooded area outside of Hemphill for 18 days. Meanwhile, Alfred's younger brother, Savion, has been following his dream and love for music as a contestant on this season of American Idol. Today, our Michelle Reed sat down with Rosalind Wright, the mother of Alfred and Savion, as she explains how she is maintaining a balance between grieving for one son while encouraging another son's passion.
The grieving process for Rosalind Wright is nowhere near being over as she tries to find peace with the death of her son, Alfred.
He was a mama's boy. He was a mama's boy.
While being there for her other son, Savion, as he follows a dream. She says Alfred helped push him toward.
He's letting me know that he feels Alfred's spirit right there with him, just, continuously encouraging him to go on and to fulfill his dream.
Rosalind says Savion first got involved with American Idol sometime before Alfred's death.
Producers from American Idol came out and did an interview at our home and, took a lot of footage. Well, Alfred was there that day. And so they had a lot of footage of him. And so Savion already knew how Alfred felt. So in his mind, this is what he was going to go and do anyway.
And the flowers bloom in springtime. On Wednesday night's episode of American Idol, Savion dedicated a song he wrote to his late brother. And Rosalind says it was an incredibly special moment for her.
On one end, I'm crying for Alfred, and then on the other end, I'm crying for Savion. So that was...
Rosalind said on Friday one of Alfred's patients showed her a prayer he wrote for his brother Savion.
Being able to go and to fulfill his dreams, and what have you. And I just thought that was just so beautiful for her to share that with me.
And despite Alfred no longer being here on Earth, Rosalind says she knows Alfred is there with Savion every step he takes. In Jasper, Michelle Reed, KTRE, East Texas News 9.
Absolutely incredible, and we wish Savion the best. He's already made it through the group rounds on Thursday, and we will continue to watch him on his journey next Wednesday.
This case really doesn't make any sense. The official autopsy said that he died, 3 hours after he was actually found?
Yeah, his decomposed body was found 3 hours later. That's when he died.
He died, 3 hours after he was actually found?
Yeah, his decomposed body was found 3 hours later. That's when he died.
Doesn't make any sense. And you understand now from your reporting that he actually knew the sheriff's daughter?
Correct. And we had spoken to several people, and that's what they told us, that they knew each other through their similar work in healthcare. He was a physical therapist. She scheduled physical therapists in the same area where he worked at one specific clinic. We stopped in that clinic. She was not there that day. But she did go on Facebook, and she did change her message saying, quote, "I did not know him. I never met him nor his family. Never spoke with him and his family. There was never a relationship." So she's making it very clear. And also,
So she's saying she didn't know him?
She's saying she did not know him. She's saying she did not know him, but then you talk to other people, and they make it very clear, the dynamics of a small town, that in fact they were known to each other.
She did not know him. She's saying she did not know him, but then you talk to other people, and they make it very clear, the dynamics of a small town, that in fact they were known to each other.
I mean, there's so many questions about this unexplained. There was a hotel. He had rented a hotel room when his wife was out of town.
He did. And
that raises a lot of questions.
Well, that also raises a lot of questions. And he actually did it 3 times in the 5 weeks before he died, in that sort of time period. We did confirm that he was at one of the hotels, that he checked in alone on a Friday evening. He was still wearing his scrubs that he'd had on from work. And then he left the following morning, on a Saturday morning, sometime sort of before lunch. He was talking to an elderly couple. They were heard saying, well, maybe we'll need your physical therapy services in a couple of years. He seemed very relaxed, very good. And the coworkers we spoke to said that he was adored by his patients, just very, very friendly. The hotel also, Anderson, is sort of shaped in a T. So you walk in the bottom of the T, but there are 2 entrances on both sides. So it's possible, and Texas Rangers have this tape and they're looking at it, it's possible that whoever he was with may have come in from those other entrances.
An update in the story of a Jasper man who went missing and was found dead last year. The investigation into the death of Alfred WRIGHT continues. The Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee says the Justice Department will investigate WRIGHT's death.
A Jasper widow is relieved to know that the Department of Justice will now open a federal investigation into the disappearance and death of her husband, Alfred WRIGHT. Today we spoke with Lauren Wright. We told you earlier this week, Houston Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee made the announcement. The 28-year-old Jasper native was last 4 months to the day at the CNLM package store off of Highway 87 in Hemp Hill. It was an emotional journey, a tough journey since learning of the death of her husband. Today, East Texas News 9's Michelle Reed shares with us how Lauren is coping with her grief and prepares for a new life without Alfred.
The worst news I've ever received in my life, there was also a certain amount of relief that came with it, because I don't know how long I could have gone on not ever knowing what, if he would have never been found.
It's been almost 4 months since Alfred WRIGHT's body was discovered unclothed with a missing ear and tongue. And for his wife, Lauren, the memory of that cold, rainy November night is a nightmare.
It's been difficult. Trying to take it one day at a time, but even that gets hard at times.
Since the discovery, Lauren has been trying to move on with her life, but admits it's hard. The details revolving around Alfred WRIGHT's death are strange. In November, a clerk at the CLNM package store in Hemp Hill, where Alfred's truck broke down, said she saw him get out of his truck, put his cell phone in his sock, and take off towards town. And Lauren says those details don't make sense.
I've never seen him put his cell phone in his sock.
Lauren says the night of Alfred's disappearance, she spoke to him as he gave her clear and precise directions to where he was.
Even after after reading them back to him, I made a mistake in writing down the directions, and he said, no, you make a left, not a right. So he was actually able to correct me.
According to federal documents, Lauren is quoted as telling the Sabine County Sheriff's Office that her husband might have been taking some sort of substance that was making him paranoid.
They asked me about his behavior, and I never told them that he was under the influence of anything. I never said that that Alfred was taking any illegal substances. When they asked me about his behavior, I just said maybe he just seemed, the day before seemed a little odd, and that was the best way I could describe it. But I never told them that Alfred was under the influence of an illegal drug.
Alfred's mom, Rosalind, says she is making peace with her son's death and likes to focus on the good memories she shared with him.
He would stand out in the yard and just scream and holler and cry for me till I got home.
Lauren adds that she hopes the Department of Justice investigation will help her start to heal.
And we're hoping and praying for a thorough and fair investigation to take place so that we can hopefully have closure and have answers to the questions that we've asked for so long.
In Jasper, Michelle Reed, KTRE, East Texas News 9.
Lauren says they will eventually move away from Jasper, but she's waiting to see what happens in the new investigation.
A ninth-month investigation into the death of a Jasper man has led to an indictment. That's our top story tonight. 28-year-old Shane Dwayne Hadnot is accused of providing cocaine to Alfred WRIGHT. Prosecutors say that cocaine led to his death. WRIGHT went missing in November. His body was found several weeks later by his family. Official autopsy results showed he died of a drug overdose, but his family maintains he was murdered. Fox 4's Justin Hinton explains why prosecutors are sticking to their story.
Oh, I wish Alfred WRIGHT didn't know Shane Hadnot and that he was alive and still the father and husband that he was to his family.
U.S. Attorney Malcolm Bell stood before a number of investigators involved in the case of Alfred WRIGHT, a Jasper man found dead in Sabine County last November. He says this man, 28-year-old Shane Hadnot, also of Jasper, provided cocaine to WRIGHT that ultimately led to his death, a death the WRIGHT family believes was not an accident, but murder, with Hadnot serving as the scapegoat.
They remain, in my view, unhappy with our conclusion and very sad, of course, about their son.
But Bale says the indictment shows in many respects how Alfred WRIGHT was responsible for his own death. According to the indictment, between October 8th and November 7th, the day WRIGHT disappeared, Hadnot used his phone to accept 35 calls from WRIGHT's phone. And from November 5th to November 7th, the two phones were used to exchange coded text messages. WRIGHT's phone sending a number of messages, including this one. Bro, 1 Gino, and a 20 and 3 handles. Hadnot's phone responding, okay. Followed by a message from WRIGHT's phone, show me love now, LOL. And the final message from Hadnot's phone, all right. Investigators say Hadnot explained the codes to them. Gino meant 1 gram of cocaine, and handle meant a Xanax tablet. The indictment also states Hadnot told investigators he sold 1 gram of cocaine and 3 Xanax tablets to WRIGHT the day he disappeared. Lab reports of WRIGHT's hair samples tested positive for cocaine and other substances, each indicating the use of cocaine over a period of time.
I pray for their peace. I've lost a child, and you're looking all the time for some reason why there's that loss, and you never get over it, but hopefully they will be able to deal with it in a fashion that gives them some peace.
In Beaumont, Justin Hinton, Fox 4 News.
A protest in downtown Beaumont last month. Alfred WRIGHT's father, Douglas WRIGHT, accused Sabine County officials of covering up his son's murder. However, the official autopsy performed on WRIGHT's body showed no signs of trauma and called his death accidental. And toxicology tests revealed he died from a drug overdose of cocaine, methamphetamine, and amphetamine. When asked about the autopsy result by KFDM, Douglas WRIGHT said, and we quote, "There was drugs in his system because they put him there." There is no word tonight if Texas Rangers are aware of the Sabine County District Attorney's statement or whether they intend to act on it.
For almost a year, questions about the demise of Alfred WRIGHT have been answered. Yet one voice has been lost in the story, and now we're finally hearing what the Sabine County Sheriff had been holding on to for far too long. Alfred WRIGHT was found dead in a pasture off of Highway 87 in Hemphill last November after he disappeared from the CL&M package store for 18 days. 2 weeks ago, Shane Hadnot was charged with providing the drugs that led to WRIGHT's overdose and untimely death. Now, WRIGHT's family claims Hadnot is being used as a scapegoat by Sheriff Tom Maddox. However, our Michelle Reed found out today that is not the case at all. She joins us now with more. Michelle?
Yeah, Christelle. Well, Tom Maddox says they are not using Hadnot in any way as a scapegoat. He says there has been evidence from the very beginning showing that Hadnot allegedly sold the drugs to Alfred, and says no matter how you slice it, this is just a terrible tragedy.
And that's the tragedy there that ought to be reported here. You know, not because of some conspiracy and cover-up, because there wasn't. But, you know, the tragedy is, there that he took the drugs and died because of a drug overdose.
Sheriff Tom Maddox says it's simple. Alfred WRIGHT was not murdered, and his untimely death was all related to drugs.
95% of the people, if they will read that U.S. Attorney's report, you know, and read the indictment there that came out on Shane Hadnot. You know, that is a perfect timeline of everything there that took place.
Sheriff Maddox says it's still unclear as to when Alfred actually took the drugs on November 7th, but says everything from day one suggests Alfred went into the woods on his own after taking drugs he allegedly got from Hadnot. 2 weeks ago, WRIGHT's parents blamed Sheriff Maddox for covering up what they called the true reason behind Alfred's death, citing a slashed throat, a cut-out tongue, and cut-off ear as elements of a murder. But Sheriff Maddox says that's simply not true.
His throat was not cut. His, was not sliced. His tongue was not cut out. Nothing of the things there that were said there that happened, took place.
He says that Alfred was found face down in the mud and agrees that insects were to blame for the missing body parts.
We did everything humanly possible there to find Alfred WRIGHT. Now, we did everything there that we possibly could except find him.
Maddox says that Alfred was actually discovered 500 yards away from the initial search site.
It was actually so thick there that there was only two ways there that you were going to find, a person. That was either to step on him or to smell him.
He says he never gave up on the search, despite what many have said, and says the rumors that his daughter was having an affair with Alfred is absurd.
There is no member of my family there that has ever met Alfred WRIGHT or knew Alfred WRIGHT.
He says he knows people will continue to say that he didn't do his job, but as far as he knows, he did, and hopes Alfred's family will finally find closure.
Alfred WRIGHT there, apparently there was a very bright young man, had a great family, and, a good job, and you would think there would just, living the American dream, and yet it all came to an end because of a drug overdose.
The parents of Alfred WRIGHT and supporters tonight are unhappy with the indictment. They say it's not justice, but injustice. They believe he is the victim of murder and not a drug overdose. Family and friends organized a rally in Houston. KFDM's Kara Dixon joins us live in downtown Houston with reaction to the indictment. Kara?
Last night, the WRIGHT family was in Tennessee when they got the call that Shane Hadnot had been arrested and indicted for the death of Alfred Martin. They said when they got the call, they drove all the way back to Texas to plan their own news rally and protest. Alfred WRIGHT's parents, Douglas and Rosalind, attended the rally along with Quanell X of the Houston's New Black Panther Party. During the protest, Quanell X said the Department of Justice wasn't doing enough to find what relatives say is the real cause of WRIGHT's death. They maintain he was a victim of a hate crime and did not die from a drug overdose. They also say Hadnot is a scapegoat. WRIGHT's father said that he taught Hadnot in school, and WRIGHT's mother says getting the call about Hadnot's arrest brings back all the emotions from the day her son went missing.
This was a hate crime, and they tortured my baby. Drugs didn't do that. So our family does not feel that Shane Hadnot killed our son or our brother or our father, because he has 3 sons. No.
Parents and members of the new Black Panther Party say they believe his death violated his civil rights, and that because the Department of Justice is not doing everything they need to do to investigate his death, they say they're taking their cause to the United Nations in November.
One group that does not see it that way, Alfred WRIGHT's family. Members and supporters of the family gathered in downtown Houston to show their disdain to the arrest. KFDM's Kara Dixon was in Houston and talked to the family.
It's been 9 months since Rosalind Wright last saw her son Alfred Wright.
I just miss his laughter. He was a very humorous individual. I miss that so much.
Wright went missing in November in Hemp Hill. His body was later discovered. Today, authorities arrested Shane Hadnot, who they say gave Wright drugs he overdosed on. The family says they're not buying it.
He is a fall guy. He is a scapegoat. He is the smoke screen.
Douglas Wright Sr. is Alfred's father. He says he taught Hadnot.
Like I've been praying for justice to be done for our son, I'm going to pray that justice come for him too.
Almost a dozen family members and supporters gathered in Houston to protest the arrest. Quanell X of the new Black Panthers Party spoke in support of the family. He says they aren't satisfied with the results.
We got exactly what we said we would get, nothing.
Wright's father says while there hasn't been a full investigation, there have been tips from members of the community.
You were doing good and not bad. And they know what we stand for. And they know that justice is due. Justice is due for us.
Wright's mother says she knows her son is in heaven smiling down on the family.
And looking down on us and telling you, go ahead, Mama, I knew that you would take care of this.
With the news of the arrest, the family doesn't plan to stop anytime soon.
We're not going anywhere. We're not going away. I don't care if I have to stand on the corner by myself from day to day and hold that little sign. It doesn't matter. I'm not going anywhere.
Crowd rallying behind the family of Alfred Wright, his picture inside an empty coffin. His parents leading the march to the Jack Brooks Federal Building in Beaumont.
My son Alfred was taken to Sabine County Jail. Talk. And later murdered by Sabine County.
No one has come forward with evidence of that, but the family is convinced there's more to his disappearance and death than an accident.
And now it's time for me to speak.
The search was made only in one direction, away from his body. We found his body. We found his body. And so, yes, I have problems with it.
I told them from the beginning that it looked like everything was staged.
A private autopsy performed on behalf of the family couldn't determine a cause of death, but a pathologist for the family said she saw, quote, findings that were suspicious of homicidal violence.
That is a bunch of malarkey.
That was drugs in his system because they put him there.
His family, supporters,
I told Brother Alfred's family from the beginning what these dirty devils were going to do.
and Houston community activist Quanell X. FBI to take over the investigation.
What we want is justice for my son. We want to find the culprits that murdered my son. I really believe that this was a hate crime.
The Texas Department of Public Safety says it's investigating Alfred Wright's death. We called the Sabine County Sheriff's Office for reaction to the statements made at today's rally, questioning the handling of the case. We have not heard back from the Sheriff's Office.
Department of Public Safety office in Jasper will open for its regular hours Tuesday after a demonstration prompted troopers to close early today. KFDM's Haley Boole explains why members of the new Black Panther Party converged on Jasper, along with friends and family of Alfred Wright.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice!
A cry for justice.
Vengeance is mine, and I will repay.
A call to action. A heated demonstration. Members of the new Black Panther Party and supporters of Alfred Wright's family converged on the Jasper office of the Texas Department of Public Safety to question the investigation into Wright's death.
Everything is not lining up. the picture that is being painted, the scenario that has been given about drugs and all of that.
That was totally made up.
His family believes foul play and race are linked to his death.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that foul play was involved.
Members of the new Black Panther Party and Wright's parents spoke during the rally. At one point, trying to force its way inside the DPS office. Troopers forced them back and locked them out.
Doesn't matter what type of demonstration, but we can't allow people to disrupt that normal business operation.
A barricaded building crying for justice.
All I want is justice for Alfred Wright. And I just want the DOJ or whoever else to come in here and just come in and just swoop this thing and start really doing an investigation so we can find out what happened to my son.
A family seeking answers.
To selling drugs to Alfred Wright is now facing 2 more criminal charges. Shane Hadnot pled not guilty today in federal court. He was first indicted in August, charged in connection with Wright's death. According to an autopsy, Wright died from an overdose of several drugs. The case has made national headlines. KFDM's Haley Wool was in court. She joins us now to explain what the new charges against Hadnot mean. Haley?
Greg, this is the new indictment we obtained. It's dated only about a week ago, October 1st. We've gone through it page by page and found Hadnot is now facing 2 federal drug charges in addition to the original pair. A handful of supporters left federal court today after listening to Hadnot plead not guilty on each count. They include his mother and a pastor. They support his plea of not guilty.
He killed nobody. That's one reason. That's why I agree with him. But whatever he say and whatever he do, I'm 100% behind him.
I'm just concerned about the second charge indictment. I thought everything was being totally shifted, but it seems that they're still saying that he has contributed to Mr. Wright's death. The other things I'm not sure about. This is the first time I've heard the adjustment of the indictments. So I'm just concerned about that one. Other than that, we're here to support the family. And
a judge has sentenced Jasper man to federal prison for drug violations. He's the same man accused of giving drugs to Alfred Wright, who was later found dead in a field. Shane Hadnot pleaded guilty in December of last year to possession with intent to distribute cocaine.
I really believe that Sheriff Maddox and them know something about it. Whether they did it, he had any doings with it, they still know something.